Hey, good evening, everyone. I'm just waiting for my guest. Oh, my guest is here. Okay. Ooh, Dr. Candace, you almost got me nervous.
Oh my goodness, hold on. Okay, there we go.
I'm with you. I don't know how to use this.
I'm telling you, I'm trying my best. Let me see.
Hey, Mandy, thank you for joining in. We're just getting on. Ooh.
In there. There we go.
Hey, Dr. Candace Brooks, how are you doing today?
I am well. Let me turn you up a little bit. I'm well. How you doing?
I'm doing good. First and foremost, thank you so much for taking the time out to meet with me and have this healthy discussion on mental health overall. I was waiting for some more folks just to jump in the live, but just to give you, oh, Mandy, thank you for joining in. I know you have another class to go to, Mandy, but thank you for stopping by, showing love, and then hopping over into your other class, Mandy. Thank you so much. Black Girl Say Something is here. Thank you so much for joining. So Dr. Brooke, is Brooke or Brooks? I'm saying it right. Brooke? Okay, so Dr. Brooks. So I came up, you see the content I put out. I'm doing health administration and health services and public health courses and content. And part of me putting out this content, I've realized that I'm getting a large feedback of questions and concerns about, hey, what can I do? Or, hey, where can I start? What should I do? And, hey, what else is out there? So I decided to, hey, everybody, hey, we're just giving this a brief rundown. Welcome to Office Hours with Dr. Johnson. So I decided to create office hours with Dr. Johnson. Now, office hours, if you're in college, you know what office hours is. This is when you go and meet with your professor and discuss assignments, discuss overall class expectations, discuss any issues or concerns with your professor. So being that I'm one of the professors here on TikTok, I was like, let me start this office hours series. But in me starting this office hours series, I wanted to make sure that I wasn't just only having consultations with students. I wanted to make sure I was doing some type of professional development, which is what we're doing here, and having panel discussions and inviting other well-rounded professionals like yourself. So I just wanted to give you that background before we jump into speaking on topic. So everybody that's here, welcome to Office Hours with Dr. Johnson. And today I have the amazing Dr. Candace Brooks. Before I hand it over to her, because I'm sure some of her followers will be coming over and joining in. So just to introduce myself first, I'm Dr. Anthony Johnson. I have a doctorate of health science with a specialization in higher education and public health. And I have a bachelor's and a master's degree in health services administration, where I did a research thesis on what are some strategies to implement into healthcare facilities to alleviate nurses' burnout and maintain positive levels of emotional intelligence. So my main research focus has always been how to ensure that these healthcare professionals are well-rounded, fully competent in order to provide quality care for patients overall. So I do have a series of questions for you, Dr. Brooke, but I just want you just to take this opportunity to introduce yourselves to our audience, and then we can run down your educational background, professional background, and we can get into the questions. So the floor is yours, Dr. Candace Brooke.
Okay, well, thank you for inviting me to come on. I really appreciate that. And hello to everyone that's in the chat and everyone watching. I am Dr. Candace Brooke. I'm a licensed professional counselor. I have a practice here in Georgia, and I've been in the field for, let's just say, over 20 years. I've been in the behavioral health, social services field. Do you want me to go back to like where I started, or?
Sure, we have the time. If you have the time, I have the time. Let's share these resources with them.
Absolutely. So I got my bachelor's degree right after high school. And I went into sociology, the study of people in relationship to communities, the study of cultures, right? They didn't have social work at the school. So I'm sorry, y'all. They didn't have social work, but in that major, I did take social work classes. And of course, it just piqued my interest even more to be in the helping field. A lot of my desire to help people did come from my own background, my own childhood, and wanting to be what I needed in those years to other people. So I did that. I went on to get my master's degree and just recently graduated with my doctorate in psychology for behavioral health leadership because I love that arena, the leadership, the management, and training new clinicians coming into the field of behavioral health. Because we know the need is there.
Right.
We have to make sure that the workforce is prepared. So I want to be in that arena. And that's basically what I'm doing now with my practice.
Nice. So yesterday, because I saw you were there in yesterday's conversation, and thank you for your support and your engagement in yesterday's conversation. Yeah. So in yesterday's conversation, when we brought up ageism and going back to school after 40, that resonated with you, huh?
Oh, definitely. Now, mind you, this was 20-something years ago. Mm-hmm. So when I started in the field, I was working in substance abuse for women who were twice my age.
Right.
And so starting in that arena, you get the looks. The ageism really hits. Right. And they'll look at you like, well, what this little girl know? How can she tell me? She hasn't been through anything.
Exactly. Hey, Anna, thank you.
It definitely exists. Hey, Anna. It definitely exists on both ends. So if you're starting out, let's say you're a little bit older than 20-something and you're younger, like in your 20s, and you're just starting out, you may get it from the clients or the people you interact with thinking, well, she hasn't been through enough, or he hasn't been through enough. What do they know?
Exactly.
And then if you're, let's say, over 40 and you're considering going back, that may be your own fear. Like, well, I'm too old. I shouldn't do it. But like I said in your live yesterday, you're going to be 45, 46, 47 without it. So might as well be it with it.
Exactly. Thank you for sharing that, and thank you for sharing that personal experience.
Yeah.
So I want to jump into the first question. Before we jump into the first question, for all of you guys just joining the live, this is Office Hours with Dr. Johnson. Once again, this Office Hours consultation is a little bit different. I'm inviting over an esteemed colleague because we're colleagues now. We're colleagues on TikTok, sharing best practices as it relates to health administration and the mental health space. So I'm having this consultation with a colleague of mine, Dr. Candace Brooks, and we're going to be discussing a variety of professional background, educational background, and a series of questions. So for those of you just joining in, welcome to Office Hours with Dr. Johnson featuring Dr. Candace Brooks. So Dr. Brooke, jumping back to you, I just want to jump to the first question. What are some myths and or misconceptions within the mental health space that bothers you the most that you would like to clear up? You can give us one or two or whatever bothers you the most whenever you hear these regarding mental health.
I think one of the biggest things, because I have a couple of them that I consider pet peeves, but one of the biggest I would say is that when someone says, well, I'm not crazy. Okay. I'm not crazy. I don't need to talk to anybody.
Right.
First of all, I don't like that word. And two, you don't have to have this major diagnosis to go in and speak with someone.
Right.
You're working on your emotional health. You're working on getting the tools that you need to just do life. To do life. You don't have to have a major diagnosis for that. Exactly. I like to talk to some people that come into me initially, and I like to tell them, look, if you are having a toothache that has been going on for a good little while, you're more than likely going to go see a dentist about it.
Exactly.
It doesn't have to be where your whole mouth is closed shut and you can't talk, or your teeth have just fallen out completely. It was just that little thing that was bothering you, and so you get it checked out. Same with your mental health.
Exactly.
You've been feeling low, you've been feeling whatever it is you're feeling. Let's go talk about it to somebody who's unbiased.
Exactly. That's true. Black girl says something. That's true.
Absolutely. We all need help.
So, next question. Best practices to alleviate either stress, anxiety, and depression as it relates to just everyday living. You did drop 2 gems on us yesterday, and it was knowing how to disconnect and also knowing your purpose or knowing your why. So as it relates to the stress and anxiety and depression of dealing with our everyday lives, what are some best practices you could recommend to us or to your students?
I would say try to develop a routine. Sometimes we work better with a routine. Not anything that is too strict, because that might heighten your anxiety, or you may feel overwhelmed or feel, I didn't do it this time, all right? So you don't want to make it too strict, but have some sort of routine so that you know this is what I do. And then pair whatever it is that you're doing for as far as self-help with something that you already do.
Right.
For instance, you're already getting up to wash your face and brush your teeth. During that time, say some words of affirmation. Set the intention for your day. When you're showering, you could do it then. When you're going down to make your tea or coffee, say what you want that day to look like. After you do all of that, then have a list of things you want to accomplish that day.
Right.
Leave room for anything else to happen. Don't be too strict, but developing a routine is really good. Knowing when to unplug, very, very important.
Repeat that again.
Knowing when to unplug is very important.
Exactly. Now, I recently was talking to a colleague of our upcoming session today. Another colleague of mine, you may know her, but in our conversation, she shared with me, hey, since you're going to be speaking with her, write this question down and ask her on my behalf, okay?
Okay.
So the question is, how do you feel about people that are in the mental health space? Thank you for the gifts. Before we continue, all of you just joining in, this is Office Hours with Dr. Johnson. Tonight's session, we're doing it a little bit differently. Instead of me having a consultation with a student, I'm having a consultation with an esteemed colleague of mine. Her and I are both professors on TikTok, so Dr. Candace Brooke is a colleague of mine. So we're having a conversation on mental health, best practices as it relates to mental health, and discussing her educational background, professional background, and a series of questions that I have for her. So we're going to jump back into the third question. For you, Dr. Brooke, how do you feel about people that are in the mental health space as a life coach? Let's wake that up. I want you to wake that up.
Oh, I hope I don't step on toes.
You step on toes. And before you answer, I want everybody to know this is just informational, unbiased, and from your perspective and from your subject matter expertise.
Yes.
And there's no disrespect.
None at all. No disrespect when I say this.
Right.
I do believe life coaches are, I do believe they are necessary for some individuals who don't want the therapeutic route because of whatever stigma they've associated with that. So I think it's very, very important for those individuals. Right. However, when you're starting to get into something that is very clinical, a diagnosis, psychosis, we need to talk to someone who is licensed in that and who has the educational background to support you effectively. Right. I'm not saying not licensed, but life coaches can't support you. Yes, they can. They can help you get your day together. They can help direct you in the career you need to go in and how to work all of this out for yourself in your daily routine. Right. But when we're talking clinical, we do want someone who is licensed in that area and who has that expertise to be able to support you.
Exactly. That's great. So once again, unbiased opinion. If you are seeking help or you're needing help and you realize that you don't want, somebody just in the chat said it, you don't want a paid friend, you actually need more help than just a paid friend, that's when you should seek therapy from a clinician.
And I'll be honest with you, initially, especially, when you first start off and you first get licensed, you get a little cocky in the beginning, right? But in the beginning, it's like, no, why would you go to a life coach? You need to talk to somebody who's licensed. Mind you, I've had my license for 2 minutes at that point. But, you need to go to someone who's licensed. But over the years, I relaxed and I became a little more non-judgmental about that. And I understood that some people just have this thing that prohibits them from seeking help from a licensed professional because it feels more comfortable for them. So at this point, it's like whatever works for you, go and do that. But when you get into the clinical stuff, seek somebody with that expertise.
Okay, nice. So just continuing the question and keeping it clinical. At what age would you recommend to start seeking therapy? Once again, at what age would you recommend someone to start seeking therapy?
I don't necessarily think there's a particular age. I do like that nowadays it's a collaborative situation between your pediatrician or your primary care doctor and behavioral health. They try to identify these issues in your appointments. If any of you've been to the doctor, they might ask you to fill out a couple of questionnaires. Usually it's a GAD. That's a generalized anxiety disorder, form, and a PHQ-9 for depression scale. So they're trying to identify so that they can then give you the resources that you need. So I don't think it's a particular age. Right now, we're trying to work very collaboratively with medical. I would say, again, no particular age, but whenever you start to see signs that there are some issues that you just cannot resolve on your own, or there's this thing that keeps nagging at you and you want to talk to someone else objectively about it, then do so. If anything, too young for me would be like 4 years old. They can't communicate effectively, but even still, they have therapists for that. They have child therapists. They have people that do play therapy.
Right.
That's not my arena, though.
Okay. Thank you for sharing that. I didn't write this question down, but it just came to me. I recently had a couple people just discussing the space of the topic of mental health and faith-based. And I don't know what everybody's views are on here, but I just want to provide an example. And obviously, we're having these conversations to keep it real within our community. As it relates to faith-based in therapy, I do know a couple of people who are like, I just want to turn to God, and I'm turning to God, and I want my faith in Him. I'm putting my full trust in Him to help me get out of this rut, or to help me, just calm my brain down. I completely agree with that. But would you also recommend to couple that with working with a clinician? What's your experience on that?
Absolutely. I recommend seeking whoever you find for comfort, God, Buddha, whoever you choose, whatever faith you're in, do that. If that brings you comfort, definitely do that. Right. And then schedule your therapy appointment.
Okay.
They can go hand in hand.
Okay.
I've had an experience one time where a new client came in. She actually was looking for faith-based counseling. Okay. I am not a Christian counselor. I don't consider myself that. Some people consider themselves that because they work the clinical stuff and they incorporate scriptures and prayer and all of this. I don't want to do that. I have a spiritual background, but I don't want to do that. So working with this client, we're doing some good work, just our first few sessions. But she stopped and said, I just wanted to find me a Christian counselor. And I told her, well, I'm not that. If that's what you want, I want you to get it. I can help you find somebody. And then she wanted to pray about it first. I said, definitely pray about it. Because if this doesn't feel right, we need to make sure you're connected with someone who fits for you.
Exactly.
It's not that I couldn't serve her. I could have still served her.
Exactly.
But if it didn't feel good to her, we needed to refer out. We need to find somebody that matches what she was looking for.
Exactly.
And you have some people, Christians, that'll come in and say, look, I need to talk to you. I don't need my pastor. I don't need the elders. I don't need nobody in this church to know what's going on this level. I don't want to hear a scripture thrown at me. I don't want to hear, just go pray about it. I need you to talk real to me. Right. I said, now you in the right room. Come on in.
Right. I love that. Thank you for sharing that. In the chat, they're saying, I love that you said that. Very honest. Yes, this is good. So thank you for sharing that, because I feel as though oftentimes people feel as though they can only turn to God, or should only to turn to Him in times of need, or in times of just down and out. But I feel like I told these people, you can definitely turn to Him, obviously, and pick up your Bible, but also let's pick up that phone book and find you somebody else as well to work with you as you're praying.
Because my thing is, like, you can pray about this and you can get some comfort in those moments, but you can also pick up the phone or go into your appointment and learn some step-by-step skills that you can start to implement to make change today.
Exactly.
I'm not saying God won't do it. I know He will. He's done so much for me.
Exactly.
I'm not saying that. But let's put them together. Exactly. Your faith in God and what you're able to do, plus these tangible skills that you can apply.
Exactly. Thank you for sharing that. Another question. Any advice you would give current students studying to work within the mental health space? Any advice you would share with them?
Let's talk about the route first. So, of course, you'll start off with your bachelor's degree, right? That's your 4-year degree. Like I said, mine was in sociology. You can do sociology, you can do social work, you can do psychology. Definitely want to start with your bachelor's. While you're in your bachelor's program, you may be able to pick up some work with the agency where you're doing like associate level types of work, nothing that's requiring a license. Just get your foot in the door, get in there, see what it feels like to work in that atmosphere, right? Once you do that, go ahead and get your master's degree. You have to have your master's degree to get licensed. So get your master's degree, get licensed. Do not do like some people did. Get your master's degree and don't sit for your licensure test. Please go ahead and go all the way through. You didn't do those extra years in school to not be licensed.
Exactly.
So be licensed, connect with an agency, and start doing your work, and you'll be working under supervision then. My advice, once you start that and you're in this field, always prioritize your self-care. You have to do you first.
Exactly.
And not pour from an empty cup. We've heard that so many times, but you have to fill yourself up in order to pour into these people. You're not doing data entry. You're working with lives.
Repeat that again.
You're not doing data entry. You're working with lives. These are real people with real problems.
Exactly.
Make sure you pour into yourself because the burnout is real.
Exactly.
Not having that routine of self-care, it'll cost you. You'll burn out quickly. When I first started, if you don't mind me going on my little rant here.
Please do.
When I first started out, I worked with children. And a lot of these kids were in group homes or foster homes, and it was community-based work. So I was driving to the place, the foster home or the group home or what have you. In and out, in and out. And I felt like this isn't working. I'm not creating any change because I'm seeing this kid for 45 minutes, an hour, and I'm sending them right back to that dysfunction, to that group home. I'm not getting them closer to reunification. And it just hurt my heart in the stories. I would drive home, just no music, no nothing, just silence. And it broke me down because I was doing everything I could. I was pouring into those children. But I didn't have a routine of self-care. And I had my own kids at home. So I learned really quickly when I started going silent with my own family, when I started wanting to just sleep in a lot. And this one I didn't even realize was a sign of burnout for me. When I started having a lot of shoulder and neck pain, I need to work on making sure that my self-care is together. I need to take some time out. So that's the most important thing is to make sure your self-care is there. Also, one other one, if you haven't been to a therapist or it's been a while, get you a therapist. Know what it feels like to be on the couch. Know what it feels like to be on the other side of that desk.
Exactly. Thank you for sharing that. I love that. So before we go into the next couple of questions, for those of you just joining in, this is Office Hours with Dr. Johnson. Normally, these are consultations with students who want to gain more information about going back to school or pivoting into a new career. But I also will be incorporating conversations as such where I'm working with, having discussions with esteemed colleagues of mine like Dr. Candace, Brooke here. And today's topic theme is mental health and working within that mental health space. So for those of you just joining in, welcome into Office Hours with Dr. Johnson, featuring Dr. Candace Brooke. So Dr. Candace Brooke, I want to go into a little controversial topic. I'm a Black man. I'm also a Caribbean man. Okay, and those are two double whammies as it relates to mental health. What would you say to men out there, or the Black men or the Caribbean men, as it relates to seeking therapy or just speaking to somebody else? Because, you know, our culture, we're big on, can't tell nobody my business. My business, that's my business. My house there, so can't tell nobody my business. My business. What's the first thing you would tell somebody who is a Black man, Caribbean man, as it relates to seeking therapy?
The first thing I'm going to say is the obvious thing. It does not make you less of a man to talk to somebody about what's going on. But a lot of us in the Black culture, period, are told what goes on in my house stays in my house.
Right.
You don't go outside and talk about that.
Right.
And like you said, the double whammy, you're a man, you have to suck it up and you have to deal with this. You don't talk about it. Don't go whining and talking about this stuff to anybody. You need to solve your own problems.
Right.
But therein creates a problem. Because now when you feel like you might want to, that narrative, that voice, what you always learn is telling you, I can't do that. Somehow that's going to be a shot to my manhood or even my Blackness. But absolutely not. We always tell our children, our boys specifically, if they fall and scuff themselves, get up, shake it off, don't cry. So what are we teaching them? To hold in those emotions. And what does that do? Increase your probability of having some kind of stress-related heart issues, high blood pressure. It affects you not just mentally, but physically.
Exactly.
Because you're holding all of that in. And stress can lead to all kinds of heart issues, cardiac issues. neuro issues. So let's not create this monster that we're going to end up dealing with at some point, maybe at the hospital, at the doctor's office.
Mm-hmm.
We have to stop teaching our boys this. Now, we let our girls cry. They're free to express emotions.
Exactly.
But what happens to a man who's full of all of these emotions, who he was never able to let it out?
Mm-hmm.
Now, what, is he angry? Is he explosive?
Mm-hmm.
Because we see that, in their relationships. Are they explosive?
Mm-hmm.
That's probably a man who never had the ability or never felt comfortable letting out those emotions or talking to somebody about it.
Or expressing himself overall.
Mm-hmm. So when I do have men come in to see me, I congratulate them. I big up them so hard because I'm just so proud that they took the step to say, you know what, I want to talk to somebody.
Exactly. Hey, Auntie TikTok, thank you for joining. This is Office Hours with Dr. Johnson featuring Dr. Candace Brooke. Tonight's topic is mental health space. We've already gone through a series of questions and we're just continuing the conversation. We're continuing the healthy conversation. Before I continue, I just want to highlight what somebody said in my chat. Black Girl Say Something said, that's why my son and I co-authored the journal, Black Boys Say Something. So if any of you who have children, who have young boys, who want to work on thank you, Auntie TikTok. For any of you guys who have young boys who want to work on journaling and writing down their thoughts, head on over to Black Boys Say Something's page and you can find her journal with her son, Black Boys Say Something. Thank you for showing love, Auntie TikTok. Mandy, that's all right. You have to go. That's all right. Thank you.
Bye, Mandy.
Dr. Candace, a personal situation. I'm currently big brother, big sister, right?
Mm-hmm.
I'm assigned a little brother, and he, just having some behavioral issues in school. Typical 12-year-old boy, right? He most recently took a picture of a pew
okay,
and posted it on his social media page. The mom called me berserk.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I don't know what to do. I'm at my wit's end. I was speaking to another colleague of mine who's also on here as well too, and she's big on mental health and big on seeking therapy. And she was like, he's lack impulse. He has no impulse.
Mm-hmm.
He needs to recommend to that mom, let's get him evaluated. After I had that conversation with his mom, she said, Anthony, I'm allowing you to have full reign. Do whatever you want with him. I just need you to step in and just help guide him.
Mm-hmm.
I haven't had the conversation yet on, hey, would you consider getting him evaluated?
Mm-hmm.
So my question to you, is it at where I'm at right now, is it appropriate?
Absolutely appropriate. And she gave you free reign. She brought you in to help him, help with him. So that would be one of your approaches to help. Is getting him some services started, getting him evaluated, trying to see what else is going on underneath the surface that he's not talking about, that we can kind of explore. And then you can still work alongside him. But obviously, lack of impulse control is there. And is he looking for attention? What is he looking for? What is he lacking that he's needing? How is that serving him by doing stuff like that? That's stuff that you can get into or he can get into in the counseling session.
Right.
Well, I don't think it's crossing any boundaries to offer that.
Okay, nice. Also, from piggybacking off of last night's conversation as it relates to my students, I have a variety of students who need accommodations. They either have like a learning disability or they may have testing anxiety. But obviously, I'm sure you're aware, each college or each educational institution has a program that is dedicated for students that need, let's say, additional time for test taking, additional time or additional resources to work on their assignments, or just need a quiet room outside of their assigned classroom to come and get their work done. However, in this past semester, I've had about 3 students come to me and said, I do not want to reach out to, or each school has different names for it. I don't know what you but like, I don't want to reach out to accommodations because I don't want that labeled on my degree. So I said to them,
where did you get that from?
Right. And it's a constant thing. So I said, why would it say on your bachelor's degree that you needed accommodations based on your learning disability or you needing accommodations based on your anxiety and depression. Before you answer that, for all of you just joining in, welcome to Office Hours with Dr. Johnson. Tonight's consultation is not with the student, it's with the esteemed colleague of mine, Dr. Candace Brooke. We are talking about the mental health space. We've already done a series of questions, and I'm just picking Dr. Candace Brooke's brain on some personal topics that I also go through as well. So, Dr. Candace Brooks, what would you say to those students who are afraid to seek out those resources to assist them in getting their work done?
Well, just be honest with them and let them know that that's not going to be a part of your degree. That's not going on there. Right. And there is no shame. Someone else said it in here. There's no shame in seeking that help. I was trying to see who was that.
Or labor on their degree. Yeah. So at my college, it's I can't remember the name right now, but it's like Center for Student Accessibility or Center for Student Resources. So so everybody who's having issues, let's say you're having let's say you're going through bereavement, and obviously you're going through some depression and anxiety, or let's say you have a learning disability, or let's say you have another developmental disorder, you would go to this center at my college or any college for that matter, and they will contact me as your professor and send me a legal documentation stating, hey, this student ID number needs accommodations. So you would have to give them extended time to complete assignments, extended time to complete tests, and they'll be able to take those exams or assignments in a specified location outside of your classroom, which is not normally allowed for I don't want to say the word regular student, but is not allowed for a student who is not seeking those type of resources. So that's what I definitely mean. So my question to Dr. Candace Brooks was, what would you say to those students who are afraid? But what I always tell them is, hey, HIPAA, there is still HIPAA. That's breaking your HIPAA. Exactly. But what would you share with them?
I will explain the process to them. You know, obviously they're nervous about it. That's a fear of theirs. I would just spend the time. I don't care how many times you have to say it, but sometimes you just have to spend that time and just explain the process. Listen, this is just a resource. This is so that we can make sure you're equipped to perform at your highest level.
Right.
We don't want to set you up for failure. Right. This is not something that gets reported and shows on your degree. None of that happens. This is communication between me and that department and you. Right. So that you can get what you need and be the best student you can be. So you just have to break it down and explain it to them. That's what I would do.
Okay, thank you for sharing that. Also, just jumping into the next topic, because we just have you have a plethora of knowledge that I want to pick your brain on. I have a lot of students who are piggybacking off of the ageism and over 40. I have quite a lot of students who have been healthcare professionals working for years. Thank you for the gifts. Thank you, everybody. I'm sorry, I am in the zone, so I'm sorry if I'm not paying attention to you. Thank you for the gifts. Thank you for the gifts. I'm just trying to pick my friend's brain right here. Okay, guys. Thank you for the gifts. Thank you for the gifts.
Now, what's left of it at the end of the day? But come on.
Right. So Dr. Brooke, what advice would you give older students, or what advice would you give people who are wanting to go back to school who are way above the typical college age range? A lot of them feel as though they won't be able to complete their assignments. Help me break that stigma that school can be for anyone at any age. What would you share?
So first thing is do it anyway.
Okay.
Do it scared. Going back to school, not having fear is not a prerequisite for going back to school.
Right.
Okay. You can do it scared. Do it anyway. Right. So go ahead and enroll. Go ahead and start. Also plan your days. Look at your life. Without school in the picture, how does your life look? What are your requirements? Like, what is your day looking like? So you can know how you can fit that in.
Exactly.
Once you get it, you know what your days normally look like. I bet you money. If you put it on a calendar and you plug in all the things, you'll find some hours in there that are free.
Right.
And during those free hours, you can plug in your schoolwork.
Right.
Also, start slow. If you can do online and you feel like that'll work for you, try doing online. If not, go into the classroom. Get on campus. Go into the classroom. But you have to see where you are now. Assess your life as it is. Look at your calendar. Plug in all of your responsibilities, everything you have to do in a day. And find those free hours. Because that'll show you where you can start plugging in your class time, your study time, all of that. And when you do all of that, also include your self-care time. When are you going to wind down?
Right.
Make it make sense for you, but go ahead and do it scared. That's fine. Right. You don't have to not be scared to do it. Do it scared.
Right. Thank you for sharing that. Jumping into the next question, and it's not just personal with me, but it's personal with some of my other colleagues who are also professors. Um, how would you, or what would you say to somebody who comes to you and they're feeling imposter syndrome?
Ooh, baby.
That could be professionally and educationally. And let me tell you personally why that. I'm 32 years old. I have a doctorate degree. I am a professor. All of my, I'm talking about the college I work at. Okay, all of my colleagues are my grandparents' age.
Mm-hmm.
The black girl say something too. She's in the same boat with me too. And the professor Dr. Creveline Lewis from yesterday,
Mm-hmm.
she's in that same boat too. We're all young healthcare professionals, young professors, and we're rubbing shoulders with older people, but we're oftentimes feeling, hey, do I belong here? Or hey, do they respect me? Or hey, how would you address imposter syndrome?
Well, imposter syndrome is a real thing.
Okay.
It's a real deal thing, and you're not alone when you feel that way. I, of course, felt that.
Mm-hmm.
Going back to school in my profession. Now, I've been doing this for a long time, but every now and then, that little sneaky thing pops up, and it's like, am I doing this right? Does this make sense? Are they gonna receive this from me? It happens, but you push through. You remind yourself of your accomplishments if you need to. Write it down.
Mm-hmm.
Remind yourself of the things you actually accomplished.
Right.
Take them off. Put that in your face so you can see some tangible evidence, because you got to fight back that negative voice that's telling you you're not good enough. You got to fight it back, and you fight it back with evidence.
Right.
So you write those things down and you look at it like, I did do that.
Right.
I did. Okay. Yeah, they did receive me well in this space. Or remind yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And if you feel like you don't have that many accomplishments, okay, make this one. Go do it.
Mm-hmm.
Then count this as an accomplishment.
Nice.
You can always add to the list, but you fight back, because that negative voice in our head, that negative internal dialogue will always speak up.
Okay.
But it's your goal and your mission to out-talk that one, to be louder, to show up for yourself, to not believe that little voice.
Mm-hmm. Because it's very little.
It's little.
That voice is very little.
But it seems like it's in this room echoing. It's so loud. It's just all consuming. You know what to do.
Right.
Don't let that little voice take over.
Right.
No, absolutely not. Remind yourself of who you are.
Right. Thank you for that. Thank you for sharing that. It's not too loud. And black girl say something. She said, we need more of Dr. Brooke with office hours. I think I just more work on your plate in terms of content creating. I think I just gave Dr. Candace Brooke an idea. We need more of Dr. Brooke with office hours. So just piggybacking off of that, can you share with everybody here what's some of the content that you share on your page, or what's your focus or what's the community you want to build on your TikTok page? Just give us a breakdown of the content that you work on.
Well, right now I'm building this space for education around mental health and emotional wellness, right? So let me tell you how this started, actually.
Jeez.
So in January, I was off going to my graduation with my doctorate degree. Mm-hmm. So that weekend, apparently something started going on TikTok talking about film and talk. Mm-hmm. I didn't know anything about it. Mm-hmm. I come back home and I get on TikTok and I see it. I'm like, oh, I want to do that. Mm-hmm. My goal is to become a professor at an actual college, work in academia. I educate my clients, I educate my interns, I educate my associate licensed therapists within my practice, but I haven't stepped into that arena yet. And that is my goal, to do that. Nice. So when I saw it, I said, you know what? I have something to talk about. I'm a subject matter expert. Mm-hmm. Let me just create a class and do it this way. I just want to give out knowledge, give out information that hopefully piques people's interest to kind of explore within themselves and see, okay, it is something I deal with. Let me go out here and get some help. Mm-hmm. I want to break down the stigma and all of the stuff about it's not for us. It absolutely is for everyone. Mm-hmm. So I want to make it easy. I want to make it relatable. I want people to feel like they're comfortable having these conversations with me, because that's how I am with my clients. We have real conversations.
Right.
I'm not hiding behind books and words and theoretical perspectives and approaches. I haven't, but I'm not hiding behind it. I'm coming to you as a human.
Right.
There's one thing I know: people will look at you and say, "Oh, she fake. He fake."
Right.
That happens.
You mentioned relatability, so that brings me to my next question. As it relates to cultural competency and as it relates to just representation in healthcare, how important is representation in healthcare to you?
It is extremely important because you feel more valued when you see someone who can be on your level, look like you, and get you. They're not side eyeing. They're not minimizing your experiences. They're relating to you. So it is very important to be relatable and to be seen in these spaces. For a long time, people of our culture or our background were not seen in these spaces, or we weren't taken seriously. So you had that from the professional arena, and then you had from your family, what goes on in my house stays in my house. So where were you going to get help, right?
Exactly.
So being able to be seen and create that space for us is super important for people to feel relaxed and comfortable and feel like they can talk to you. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, thank you for that. Last question for you. It kind of relates to, can I do what they're doing too? But can you share an experience or any type of disparity or any type of obstacle you have to overcome as you are working on getting to the point that you are at right now? You can share what you feel comfortable with, but I like to share these type of discussions so that somebody out there, the 10 or 9 people on this live can say, hey, Dr. Candace Brooke said this and she overcome this. Dr. Johnson said he overcame this, so I could do it too. During your time of getting to the point that you are at right now, can you share an obstacle that you had to overcome?
Absolutely. Okay, so we're going to be transparent with the few people that are in here.
Okay.
So this is my business. I'm about to tell y'all my business.
All right.
So growing up, I grew up in a household that there was a lot of dysfunction, there was a lot of chaos, and there was a lot of drug addiction. I always felt like and I'm the oldest in the family. So the oldest child, grandchild, niece, all of that. I was the one responsible for all of those who were under me.
Right.
I didn't have that person to go to. And because of all of the things I saw in my life, all of that dysfunction, there were periods while I was in school, I'm like, how am I supposed to help somebody?
Right.
Like, what am I going to tell them?
Right.
You know, I don't want to not be able to help because I went through this is what I was thinking. Right. Also, I had been married before. Let's fast forward. I had been married before. And then our marriage didn't work. Now I got a couple coming in front of me. Then I felt, well, how am I supposed to help them? I'm divorced. I felt like that was a strike on my record or something. How am I going to show up? But I overcame that because I know that I know what I know.
Right.
I know why I'm doing this.
Say that again.
I know that I know what I know.
Right.
And those experiences, they created who I am.
Right.
It allowed me to have even more compassion to people who are lost, people who feel like they don't have anybody to talk to, people who have been through divorces and breakups and all. It helped me to feel them and see them and know where they're coming from. Our experiences may not be the exact same, but baby, I can empathize. I know what you're feeling to some degree, and I can be present with you in this thing.
Right.
So I leaned right on into it. This doesn't make me flawed at all. It gives me more substance.
Right.
But I had to get over that, though.
Say that again. You have to what? What you had to do?
I had to get over that.
You had to get over it. Why? Because you had a job to do. And
I had a job to do.
And you had accomplishments to accomplish.
Yes.
Okay. So I want to share. I get on here and I always share what I overcame in my trials and tribulations. So from another healthcare professional, from another doctor and healthcare professional, I'd like for you to share, your obstacles and what you have to overcome as well to get where you're at today. Thank you for sharing that, Dr. Brooke.
Yes, you're welcome. I mean, it was something, and there, like we were talking about that critic, that little voice that she got loud sometimes, and she told me I wasn't good enough sometimes, or how are you gonna help these people? Girl, shut up! I got this. I know what I know.
Right.
I just kept pushing forward.
Right. Well, Dr. Brooke, thank you so much for coming on here and sharing your experience and answering these questions. This was amazing. Once again, for those of you that just joined in or have been sitting here, this is Office Hours with Dr. Johnson. Normally, these are consultations with students, but today I'm also incorporating an esteemed colleague of mine, Dr. Candace Brooke. Anything else you want to share with the people that are on here, Dr. Candace Brooke? Obviously, you guys can all go over and follow Dr. Candace Brooke. And maybe in the future, she'll start doing some office hours with Dr. Candace Brooke. Maybe I just gave her an idea. So if you're looking, right, maybe if you're looking for anything relating to mental health, any resources or any advice, please head on over to Dr. Candace Brooks' page. Dr. Candace Brooks, have a good evening and thank you so much for joining this conversation.
I want to say something, if you don't mind me doing so. I see Black girl say something, say, I got this, and I just want to encourage you, ma'am. You do have it.
Yes.
I don't care what that little voice has been telling you, how she's been speaking and trying to get loud. You shut her down and you remind yourself of who you are. You got it. You haven't come this far to just throw your hands up, throw the towel in and lay back. You got it. So you keep pushing. Whatever feels like it's coming up as an obstacle, push right through it. You got this. Hold your head up. I see that head down. What's that for? Hold your head up.
Dr. Brooke, thank you for sharing that. I know Black Girl faced something personally, and as we all are, we're going through some things, in life, because that's a part of life. So thank you for sharing that to her.
Yes.
She needed to hear that, okay? So thank you for sharing that. God is so good that you said that to her. Thank you for sharing that.
Absolutely.
So
well, thank you for having me.
Thank you so much, and maybe we could do this again in the future, and invite over some more speakers as well too. So let me drop you off so you can get your points, okay?
All right. Take care.
Good night. We'll see you.
Bye,
soon.
everyone.
Good night. So once again, everybody, this was Office Hours with Dr. Johnson. Tonight's session was with Dr. Candace Brooks. I do have some upcoming sessions where I will be working with some students and some other healthcare professionals or some other people who are working in different spaces that are doing some great work within the community. So if you've liked tonight's live, please remember to head on over to my page and check out some of the other content that I'm working on. I'm a professor of health management. I teach a variety of courses. Some of the courses that I teach are health insurance and managed care. I also teach healthcare ethics. I also teach you the fundamentals of human resources in healthcare. And I also teach epidemiology 101. That's important. And last but not least, I also teach healthcare operations management. So if any of you are interested in healthcare administration, public health, health science, hit me up. I could help you guys out and I can share some resources with you all. Have a good night, everyone.